I refused to fund my friend's trip. After she spent all her money on shopping, our friends are on her side, calling me a jerk because she had a sad childhood. I never thought I'd be the one posting here, but I can't keep this to myself any longer. My name's Mark, and I need to know if I'm the asshole in this situation. So, here's the deal. My friend Sandra and I have known each other since high school. She's always been a bit of a shopaholic, but it's usually not an issue. We've all got our quirks, right? But this time, things went way too far. A few months ago, our group of friends decided to plan a trip to Europe. We were all super excited and started saving up. The plan was to visit Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. We had everything sorted: flights, hotels, activities. It was going to be epic. But then Sandra pulled a classic Sandra move. We were supposed to leave in 2 weeks when she called me, her voice shaking, telling me she was broke. She'd spent all her savings on a shopping spree. I'm not talking about a couple of outfits. No, she blew thousands on designer clothes, bags, shoes, you name it. I couldn't believe it. We'd all been planning this trip for months. I was pissed, but I tried to keep my cool. I told her it was reckless and asked her what the hell she was thinking. She just said she got carried away and thought she'd managed to save more money somehow. Now, here's where things get messy. Sandra asked if I could loan her the money for the trip. She promised she'd pay me back once she was more financially stable. But here's the thing. Sandra has a history of not paying people back. She's done it before with smaller amounts, and I wasn't about to get burned again, especially not with such a large sum. I told her no. I said I couldn't afford to fund her trip, especially after she blew her own savings on shopping. I suggested she sell some of her new stuff if she was that desperate to go. Sandra didn't take it well. She called me a jerk and hung up on me. The next day, I started getting texts and calls from our other friends. Apparently, Sandra had told them her side of the story. She'd spun it to make it sound like I was abandoning her in her time of need. She brought up her sad childhood, saying she never got to go on trips or buy nice things because her family was poor. And yeah, it's true, Sandra's childhood wasn't great. She had it rough, and I get that. But does that mean I'm supposed to pay for her mistakes now? I didn't think so. Our friend group didn't seem to agree, though. They all started pressuring me to help her out, saying it wasn't fair to leave her behind just because she made a mistake. They called me selfish and unsupportive. It hurt, honestly. I've always been there for my friends, but this felt like too much. I explained my side to them, but they just kept throwing Sandra's childhood in my face. They said I didn't understand because I had a more stable upbringing. They made me feel like a monster for standing my ground. Even my best friend Dave was on Sandra's side. He said I should just loan her the money and not be such a hard ass about it. I asked him if he'd be willing to give her the money instead, but he said he couldn't because he was saving for a new car. Convenient, right? I decided enough was enough. I called a meeting with the whole group to settle this once and for all. We met at a local cafe, and things got heated fast. Sandra, you spent all your money on shopping. How is that my fault? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, but failing miserably. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Mark, I didn't mean to. I just got carried away. I thought you of all people would understand. I understand that you made a stupid decision, and now you're expecting me to bail you out. I snapped back. It's not fair to put this on me. The rest of the group chimed in, saying I should have a heart and help a friend in need. They kept bringing up Sandra's tough childhood, as if that excused her irresponsibility. I was getting more and more frustrated. Why is this all on me? Why can't you guys chip in if you're so concerned? I asked them. They all had excuses. Amy said she was saving for her wedding, Mike had student loans, and Sarah was saving for a house. It seemed like everyone had their own financial priorities, but they still expected me to put Sandra's needs above my own. Sandra finally spoke up. Mark, please, I promise I'll pay you back. I just need a little help. I took a deep breath. Sandra, I love you as a friend, but I can't do this. You need to learn to manage your money better. Maybe this is a tough lesson, but it's one you need to learn. She broke down crying, and the rest of the group glared at me like I was the devil incarnate. I felt like shit, but I knew I was doing the right thing. After the cafe showdown, things were tense. Our group chat was a battlefield with passive-aggressive comments flying left and right. I started getting the cold shoulder from most of my friends, and it sucked. Sandra, meanwhile, found a way to make the trip. She sold some of her designer stuff and borrowed a bit from her parents. She didn't talk to me much after that, though. It was like a wedge had been driven between us, and I hated it. The trip itself was awkward as hell. Sandra and I barely spoke, and the rest of the group was split. Some of them tried to stay neutral, but it was clear that most of them thought I was in the wrong. I tried to enjoy myself, but it was hard with all the tension hanging over us. When we got back, things didn't get much better. Our friend group felt fractured. We used to hang out all the time, but now it was like everyone was taking sides. I started spending more time alone, which wasn't great for my mental health. I tried reaching out to Sandra a few times, but she was distant. I missed my friend, but I didn't regret my decision. I knew I did the right thing, even if it made me the bad guy in everyone else's eyes. A few weeks ago, I got a call from Sandra. She sounded different, calmer. She wanted to meet up and talk. I was hesitant, but I agreed. We met at the same cafe where everything blew up. "Mark, I've been thinking a lot," she started. "I realized I put you in an impossible position. I shouldn't have expected you to bail me out. I'm sorry." I was shocked. "Sandra, you don't need to apologize. I just didn't want you to keep making the same mistakes." She nodded. "I know, and I'm trying to get better. I've started budgeting and being more mindful of my spending. It's not easy, but I'm learning." We talked for hours, and it felt like a weight was lifting off my shoulders. Sandra and I cleared the air, and it felt good. She admitted she used her childhood as an excuse for her behavior, and she was working on that too. As for our friends, things are still a bit rocky, but we're getting there. Some of them still think I was too harsh, but I don't care as much anymore. I did what I thought was right, and Sandra and I are in a better place because of it. So, Reddit, am I the asshole? Maybe. But I think sometimes you have to be the asshole to do the right thing.